Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Distance Dilemma podcast. My name is Shaun, and I am in Dublin, Ireland. And this is Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland, and this is our long distance friendship podcast. We're going to kick things off this week like we do every week with out of context weekly scenarios. This is the part of the show where me and Imran give each other sections of our week out of context, and the other person has to try and guess what's going on through a series of yes or no questions. So, Imran, what is your out of context weekly scenario?
My out of context weekly scenario is I had a musical cultural experience.
Okay, did you watch a musical for the first time that you'd been meaning to watch?
Sorry, I'm gonna change it to music. It was not musical.
Okay, right. I
Yeah,
was like, did he finally
just so I
watch
don't lead,
Hamilton?
just so I don't lead you down the wrong route. He's like he
Okay.
finally watched Hamlet. Yeah, yeah. Or sorry, Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had like a music experience. So, was this like an event that you went to?
Yes.
Okay. Was it a concert?
Yes.
Did you go to Zurich for this? I'm assuming.
No.
Was it in Tune?
No.
Bern.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it like a bucket list kind of artist came to town?
No.
Were you at some like random festival of sort like
No.
a town festival or a town like parade?
No.
Was it like was it traditional Swiss music or was it more like general pop stuff?
No.
No. A music experience. Did you get involved with this experience at all? Like, did you play something or were you brought up on
No.
stage? No.
No.
Um, did we say it wasn't like a bucket? It wasn't like a bucket list artist
No.
of some sorts. Okay, did you like go out for eat? Was this something got to do with Easter?
No.
So you just like you and Nicola were just like going out in Bern and like was this something you planned or did this? Yeah, was this like a planned event that you went to or did you just stumble into it?
It was a planned event.
Okay, so I just wanted to see like were you guys just like out for drinks and you just stumbled into somewhere? That's where I was kind of going with that. Like, and then like it just ends up being like unexpectedly something really
Yeah.
good. Um, so you went to Bern, which is was this had you seen something like this before?
Live?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Live. The fact you're like live. So is there's videos of there's videos of this that you've seen online.
Of what particularly?
The experience.
uh yes.
Well, yeah, I suppose you would do if like you're
Yeah.
planning to go to it. You're not just going in blind.
I am
Um.
purposely making it more difficult because every week he's got it. So
Okay. Okay. So all I've gotten that is you went to a was it like a traditional kind of like rock concert?
no,
Was it like some sort of like showpiece for? Was it like a tribute act in some way?
no,
Were the performers performing original stuff or or was it adapted material?
original.
Fuck, I was hoping you'd say adapted.
Yeah, I know. I know he's trying to like think it's going on a different route.
Was it a rap thing?
No,
Was this like was it? So it's not a band. No,
no,
is it a group of some sorts?
no.
So it's a solo thing.
I mean, the person had a band with them.
Did you go and see Gavin James?
No, that'd be
Because
mad. That'd be a mad pulling,
I
bro.
think
I
he,
couldn't
I
imagine
think,
ever seeing him playing in Burn.
I think I saw him playing in Europe, so I was like, oh, was he on tour in Switzerland? I did see tour Cinema Club are coming to Zurich this year.
True, true. I'll give you two clues. First clue, I
Okay,
wasn't with Nicola.
okay,
Okay. And the second one, it was someone asking me from work, do I want to go to this? Would I like it was pre-planned. Like I
okay,
knew I was
right.
going there. Okay.
So is
And
there
I
any
and then
like is there
then
an
think
Irish?
back to the question I said. So I'm sorry. So what I said. So I said I went to a musical experience that I'd never been to before. So saw a music experience I'd never been to before. So think about like in that terms.
Was it something to do with like Ireland in particular?
No, it's nothing to do with Ireland.
Right. Okay. I was just thinking because you work with Irish people
Yeah, of
as well, so
course.
it could have been
Yeah,
like
yeah.
an
Maybe
Irish
like a
thing.
trad thing or
That's
yeah,
exactly where I was going with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
So it's nothing to do with our. Is it like so? In that vein, is it more like kind of Swiss traditional type of thing?
yes.
Okay. Is it like? I don't know. This is. I feel like this is something that's like very like niche to, like you don't.
I could give you the biggest clue, but I know if I say it, you'll probably get it straight away.
Um,
Okay, think more on the genre. I think if you go down that route, you might be able to figure it out.
Singer songwriter.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the person is a singer
So
songwriter.
you
Yeah,
went. So you. So just to you, someone from work asked, "Did you want to go and see somebody in concert in Bern?"
correct, correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so now I need to figure out who you went to go and see.
No, I don't need you to find out who.
What? So
I
what do
just
I
need
need
you
to
to.
find out?
You need to find out what was the cultural experience. What was the genre? That's what I want you to find out.
Reggae.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Well done.
that
There we
was a
go.
shot in the
There we
dark.
go. That was a shot in the dark. Well done. Yeah. So I went to my first ever live. So they have Swiss reggae here, which I never knew was a thing. So it's all in Swiss Deutsch. So that was very weird experience for me because I didn't understand one word they were saying. But also, I feel like because the type of music, you don't necessarily need to understand what they're saying because I feel like with reggae, it's a lot on like the environment, the beats, the live music, I suppose, is the way of looking at it. I was gonna say Adam Layton, and I thought you would have picked up straight away if I had
Yeah,
said
yeah,
that.
I
That
would
was
have.
my clue.
Yeah.
Adam Layton, by for context, is one of Shaun's mates, and he loves reggae music. So shout out to Adam. So that's what I was trying to think. If I had said that, you would have went down that route. So yes. Anyway, I went to a concert in Bern with a lad from work. He asked me, "Did I want to go to this Swiss reggae thing?" I said, "Why not? I love live music, so I'll go down." And I have to say, it was great. And the venue was very similar layout to the Olympia,
Mm.
a bit smaller, I would say. But really good sound, good environment as well. There was a lot of like mixed ages between like elderly. There was like a kid there. I think it was his first concert. Like he was at the front, and we met some of his mates as well. But yeah, really enjoyed it. I think I'll definitely go back to a reggae event as well. I was expecting like a cloud of smoke everywhere, but then I forgot I was in Switzerland. That just didn't happen. I think that's like probably most people's like mindset of you when you think of like reggae music from like people that aren't into reggae music.
Mm.
But I have to say, yeah, really good. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, well done. Fair play for numbing it down.
I'm actually
Well,
proud that I got that because I was really struggling with that for a while.
I was purposely trying to make it hard because I was like, he's on such a roll recently where he's got them like 6 weeks in a row, and I think I haven't got one the last two. So, what was your out of context weekly scenario?
So my out of context weekly scenario is a sudden skip.
A sudden skip.
Yeah.
Okay, this is does it have anything to do with watching something?
No.
No, so it's nothing to do with TV, movie, that kind of area.
No.
No. Does it have anything to do with the bathroom?
No.
Okay. A sudden skip. Was it the physical movement of the skip?
No.
No. Was it the crisps?
No, that's I was
No.
expecting that to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. You're
That
probably
was like
expecting that first.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I could like that's like one of the, maybe I was just like I was putting skips in the shopping basket or something. That's where I came up with it, but no.
Yeah. Okay. So a sudden skip. The context. So you didn't make the physical movement. It has nothing to do with the crisps. It's nothing to do with TV. Were you in the house
No.
with this situation? Was it on your phone?
No.
Were you watching memes or a video on your phone?
No.
Okay, so it's nothing to do with the phone at all.
No.
Okay.
You're so like
I'm on the
that's
wrong
no,
route.
but you're
Yeah, I'm on the
you're
wrong route.
getting warmer with that territory.
Okay, were you watching someone else's phone?
No.
No, no. Okay. Does this just have to do with you or with another person? Sorry, I forgot to yes or no. Is it you and Simone?
Yes.
Yes, so you and Simone were kind of trying to skip past something. Was there like were you walking Xena and there was like another dog and you were trying to like skip past them, or has anything to do with
No,
Xena at all?
no.
No. Okay. Did I ask, were you in the house when this whole thing took place?
You
Yeah,
did ask
sorry.
that at the start.
So, okay. So were you out and about? Were you in the car?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. Were you playing? Oh, okay. So he's in the car listening to music and a song came on and you were like, skip that really quickly.
yes, that's it. That's
Yes.
exactly
Okay.
it.
Perfect. Perfect.
Grand,
Perfect.
right.
Perfect.
So yeah,
Okay.
I'll give that one to you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's other details in there. So the reason we had to skip this on, so this happened on Easter, right? And we went over to my auntie's house for dinner, and we picked up my grandparents, and we were driving, and we're just driving along the road, and my nana is fantastic at filling the silence and grand. So like we're all waffling away, can't even really hear the music, right? As what happens when you're driving somewhere. It's about a 25-minute drive. Like, conversation died down a little bit. Everyone was just chilling. And there was about 5 seconds of nothing where you could just hear the music on the radio. And in that, so one song ended, and the next song that came up was Tears by Sabrina Carpenter.
Okay.
So the first few lyrics of that being, I get wet at the thought of you. Uh huh.
Okay.
Didn't
Okay.
think that was going to be the vibe for the car. So me and like Simone like looked at each other dead in the eye and like both like jumped to press the skip button on the thing. But that was it. I just thought that was quite funny.
Yes, yeah, I don't really listen to Sabrina Carpenter, so I wouldn't know that. So that's an interesting factor. It's
It's a
always
very
funny, like when
sexualized
you're,
song. Like
yeah,
it's horny on fucking on audio. That's what that
I always
is.
think it's so funny if you're like, it's like, I feel like some people, when they have like Spotify or Apple Music, they're very like organized with their playlist. But I think that people that have like all their music in one giant playlist and they just click shuffle are crazy. Because like you could go from like heavy rock metal to like cutesy, like maybe like bit of like a bop like Dua Lipa, to then going
Yeah.
back to like insane rap, to then going back to like jazz music in the space of four songs. Like I
You're
just think
gonna
that people like that are crazy. Like,
Well, I am that crazy person.
oh
I'm not gonna
man,
lie.
you're
Now, in the
crazy.
context, so right. Thing is, I don't disagree with you on what you're saying, right? But my argument to that is, I have a playlist for the car called Driving. I think everybody who has a car has their playlist for that.
Of course.
And what I specifically try to put into that playlist, I have my own personal playlist. I have a gym playlist. I have like a playlist for when I'm on the bus where it's like my music, and then I have like playlists that are like more deep cuts of stuff that I like, right? That I will listen to. But the car playlist in particular, I really fucked up my speech on that one. The car playlist in particular, I put everything in there because I want it to be a case of when you get in the car, there's something for everyone in there. I don't want it to just be my music because then all people will be listening to is Foo Fighters, Coronas, and like metal.
Yeah.
Whereas like I want people to get in the car and Dua Lipa. Whereas I
Yeah.
want I want my grandparents to get into the car and like a CCR or a Beatles song or now like I like CCR, I like the Beatles, I like AC/DC, but like they wouldn't be my favorite bands. But I
Yeah.
like having those songs in the playlist for other people. And then like I will also have like generic kind of poppier songs for when I'm giving my friends lifts, like so like there's like some Chaperone songs in there. Now I don't mind Chaperone, maybe not after the last few weeks as we were talking about the podcast a week or two ago, but like I have the kind of more radio pop friendly songs in there as well. But then I also have the songs that I like. So like my driving playlist I think has like I think it's like 1,600 songs in it or something like that. I throw everything in there. It comes up on shuffle, and whatever plays. Whereas my deep cuts or like my stuff, like my gym playlist is all like kind of very similar vibes. Like there's one or two kind of poppier songs and like Billy Ocean and Phil Collins, but then the rest of it is all typical kind of heavier rock music, like to get you through the pump.
Yeah, I understand. It kind of just depends on like the setting of who, like who's with you as well.
But
Like
that's
say for
exactly the
like say for example, like if I'm with you, like I'm not just gonna like throw on my rap, deep cut, undercut playlist because I know that's not particularly your kind of setting. It'd be like the same with me if I jumped in with you and you'd be like, I'm gonna put on country music because that's not like
yeah.
my kind of era that I enjoy. But then, like, if I'm in the car, I feel like you're always trying to please everyone in the car, and then
Exactly.
you always end up going back to like the bangers. So in terms of like, what we grew up on, the ones that you hear in the club, the girly pop bangers, like the good classic indies, like that's like the kind of mix that everyone kind of knows and fits
Yeah.
into. So I think I mean, what I mean by like people that play like playlists, I mean like everyday they don't have a set playlist. They just click shuffle. Like Nicola's playlist is absolutely crazy. I would love to share. I'm actually going to share Nicola's playlist to you on Spotify, like through a link, and you're just going to be like, "What the hell is this?" I'm calling you out,
Okay,
Nicola.
I'll give you an example because what I love, I in my car playlist in particular, I love to have songs from when we were like 7 to 12 years old, songs that we would not have listened to, but you'll recognize them. So just for example, like I've just pulled up my Apple Music here of like songs that I've recently added, and I've been really vibing with FIFA playlist songs as well. Recently, I've been adding loads of those to my driving playlist.
Classic,
So my most recent playlist additions are "Gimme Gimme More" by Britney Spears,
classic,
"Never Too Much" by Louis Vandross,
banger.
um,
Never too much, never too much.
"Baby Can I Hold Your Hand" by Tracy Chapman,
Good class, good song.
"5,000 Candles in the Wind" by Mouse Rat from Parks and Rec,
Okay, that's a bit of a run.
"These Days" by Take That,
Oh, I love that. Me and Nicola were talking about that yesterday.
Pitbull,
Well, you can't
"Hotel,"
go wrong with people. Like,
and then like Alanis Morissette, and then I've got a couple of random FIFA songs like "Torches" by Foster the People. I've got Rex Orange County, "Bastille," "Vowels" by Capital Cities. Like I've got a couple of like random FIFA songs. Like that's all like kind of just this week's shit that I've added to the playlist because I'll be
funny
scrolling on
that you,
TikTok.
yeah, funny that you said about the FIFA songs. I don't know if you've heard the song released for the new upcoming World Cup.
Oh,
Like,
it's not
there's
great
been
at
a,
all, isn't it?
yeah, that's what I was saying. Is I don't know if anyone else does listen to the podcast, but after the podcast, go listen to it. It's a complete disgrace compared to like the prior ones, like Waving Flag or Shakira's song that I can't even remember. What's called?
Waka Waka.
Waka Waka. Yeah, the classic. So like it's like when you see songs like that like are we grew up on, it's just like, what is this woke nonsense?
Yes. What is this woke nonsense?
There we go. And I'll let
He's
Sean
so happy with himself for that.
get in. Oh man,
Anyway,
every time we struggle so much like trying to lead in, and I just get gassed every time we bring it in.
yeah.
Oh
Anyway,
man.
speaking of woke nonsense, ladies and gentlemen, our topic for this week is things that we think are woke nonsense. Now we say this as if anybody who's been listening to the podcast for more than 5 weeks will know me and Imran we're fairly left leaning lads. Like we're not racist, we're not homophobic lads. We're fairly liberal, modern lads. Like I don't think we apply to the
Middle
whole
left.
manosphere
Middle
thing.
left. Middle.
You know, but I just thought it'd be a funny thing to be like, oh, what are some things that we just find a little bit too woke? Do you, like I can give you an example if you want, or I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I would like
something.
I'd like you to give me an example so I get an idea of where to go. Yeah.
Okay, right, Grant. Right, so the first thing I have here is QR code menus when you go into a restaurant.
Yes. Yes.
Look, I know you're trying to save the planet, right? I get it. And I get it was a thing that was brought in mainly from COVID. But there's just something that's not the same when you walk into a restaurant and they go, scan that QR, or like they point to a thing on the table, like, scan that QR code there. And then you're just sitting on your phone. And like, I don't think it's as bad when you're by yourself, but when you're out to dinner with someone or you're having lunch with someone, you want to chat, like, and like reading the menu together is part of that experience. It's just not the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
with the phone, like.
It's kind of like the similar thing to that would be like, like if you want to read a book, like the physical touching of a book is better than like a Kindle. Because like
Yeah.
your Kindle, like that'd be like my kind of closest reference to like the way Shaun explained that is like it's like with dining, the experience of being handed a menu and talking and like looking at each other like, oh, this is good in the menu. I think that's the whole environment and process of sitting down for eating. So I completely agree with you with that.
Yeah.
And I think it's becoming more common. Like I know, I mean, it's probably like you were saying, from a good perspective, it's like saving the environment, but I mean, there's other stuff we could be doing to tackle this problem and this issue.
Have you tried laminating your menus, folks?
Yeah.
Laminators aren't that expensive.
Yeah, for real, for real. It's funny because I have my first one is like so similar to you. This like paper straw business, lads. Come on.
Yeah, 100%.
Get rid of it.
100%.
Bring back the plastics. I know, again, we're coming across as we absolutely hate the environment right now. At the same time, there's nothing I hate more than having to go through 4 straws just trying to drink my Coke from my Burger King. Like, you know what I mean? Like, get right. Even like, I don't have an issue with the metal ones as well. As long as they're washed, like, I actually don't have a problem with it. But like, for me, the plastic ones are just like, they're just quick and easy to go. They barely ever crack unless you're messing around with it. Like, That for
I
me is utter
think
wokeness.
especially in sit down places, like takeaway, like I still like I agree with you 100% on this. I'm not arguing at all, but I think especially in the context of sit in places, like if you go to Eddie Rockets and they're giving you metal utensils, can we not just get like a stronger straw instead of giving you the fucking wet nappies that are them fucking paper straws after two sips? Like
Yeah.
milkshakes with paper straws in particular are a struggle.
Yes, milkshakes would probably be the biggest one I would have an issue with.
Yeah.
Especially when it's you get to like the bottom part. People don't really notice if you're drinking milkshake. The bottom part of trying to get the stuff out of a milkshake is very difficult
Mm.
because that's where sometimes they have like the lumpy part where like it maybe it mightn't have blended when they were making the milkshake. That
Mm.
really stresses me out. So that's kind of like the first one I had in relation to that. What other ones do you have?
Um. Okay, we need to stop putting cheese into everything.
Disagree. I
Disagree.
disagree.
No,
I love cheese. Can you
I
give me an
like cheese
example?
myself.
Can you give me an example of like something that?
I just every time I go to somewhere, I feel like there's like a loaded version of something with an unnecessary amount of cheese added to it, or like, you know, like there's a lot of really shit cheese sauces out there as well. I don't know. There's just like an overload of like cheese being added to shit. And look, like I
Yeah,
said, I enjoy it. One of my favorite sandwiches is a cheese toasty. I love a cheeseburger. I'm not saying I don't. I buy a bag of cheese a week in the weekly shop. Like I have my fair amount of it, but I do think just people. It's just getting added to too many things. Like not everything needs to be loaded to this with like four blend cheese and cheese sauce. And yeah, I don't know, it's something I'm just kind of seeing a lot recently. I just think it's something that needs to kind of calm down a little bit in my view.
okay, he's a cheese hair. This is like that Wallace and Gromit meme where it's like the guy he's like always asking for cheese, and the guy is like, I hate the cheese. Like the dog is so sick of Wallace asking for cheese.
Even Wensleydale.
Yeah. Yeah, I disagree on that one. A close one, I don't have another one to food necessarily, but for me, I had it written down here was the misinformation of news on social media platforms is crazy. Like every week, like Nick, I remember a whole month ago, I can give an example. I don't know if you remember the meme of Bad Baby. She went on Dr. Phil years ago.
Yeah.
Me and Nicola were coming back from Turkey, and Nicola was saying to me, "Oh my God, Bad Baby just died." Like she kept saying, "Bad Baby just died," and I was explaining this story to me, like, "Bad Baby just died," and I was like, "Nicola, she's not dead. I'm telling you now, she's not dead. It's misinformation." Because you can even see it from the way the news article is posted. And I
Mm.
think like this just spreads so much misinformation all the time. And like when people come up and talk to me and work about certain situations to do with like the war or like something in politics, and it's just so informationized to them. And I don't think it's like their not their problem because like that we all get our news now a lot of the time from social media. But I just think like there's so many like personal pages now that people have created that are trying to like force news articles onto people. And I just think it's such a bad way of looking at it. And every time I see it, it pisses me off because it's like I mainly when if I'm ever looking for the news, and you probably do yourself in your research for the podcast, I always go to like stuff that has been like known to be, you know, most of the time like correct in terms of matter. So like we go
Yeah.
like the Irish Independent, or you'll go like the Irish Times, for example, in Ireland, or a big one in probably like the UK would like you would avoid the British Mail or stuff like that, or the
Yeah.
Irish Sun. You reputable sites, I would say. So that's kind
Yeah,
of
for
one I
sure.
noticed. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
and
noticed.
like kind of on that topic, this isn't something I had written down, but I think this is one that's probably a little bit more politically
Yeah,
woke, but like people who pressure everyone to make a stance on every issue. And what I
yeah,
mean by this is, I've had this put to me before that on my music page, and like this is something I've talked about on the podcast before, in terms of like the subject matter. But on my music page, I don't really comment on like international conflicts, or I don't really comment on political things that much because. Yeah, and the big reason I don't do it is because I am not as you were mentioned there, I'm not a reputable source. I am not on the ground. I don't know the full story behind these things, so I
yeah,
won't I won't make a statement, or I won't push an agenda that I am not 100% certain on a platform like that. I'm not going to
yeah,
sit here and try and tell people how to think or how to do this when I'm not 100% informed myself. Now, I'm fairly well informed. I understand Israel are committing genocide in Gaza, and I'm very much a free Palestine type of guy. I know Trump is becoming a dictator. I know he's a fucking idiot. I don't personally post about these things an awful lot because I don't always have the full story,
I'm
and
the same as you. Yeah,
it's great, like, and like people like and like I could even argue it's like, oh, it's great to like spreading misinformation is great for algorithms and stuff because it gets people to comment and that boosts pages and that'll increase your growth and blah blah blah. But that's not something I'm interested in doing. But I've just noticed that some people like put pressure on people to always be speaking out. I've had it happen to friends of mine who would maybe be a bit more well known in the music
Yeah.
industry where like they haven't said anything good or bad. They just haven't spoken, and their comments will get flooded, being like, "Why are you not raising more awareness?" Because like now artists like Kneecap will say
Yeah,
these things. It's like, yeah, but like not everybody has to say something on this. Like, like just enjoy the art for what it is. Like, and I'm not talking about like someone like Michael Jackson who was a pedophile. Like, I'm talking about like people who aren't involved in this at all.
okay.
And just
I also disagree with you there as well with the
yeah.
Michael Jackson thing. Yeah, but I get what the purpose of what you're trying to say. I think the idea of pushing your own political terms on social media should be very to you. And I think if that's something you fully believe in and you fully go for and you believe that it's replicable, then push that awareness. I do think that's good. I do think awareness on certain situations is good. It's just never something I've ever like got involved with. Even when the BLM movement was starting, it was something I never took part in. I never share anything to do with political terms. Purely on the basis is I don't know what is correct. I mean, again, like Shaun said, we know what's right and wrong, but I mean, in terms of like a political aspect of sharing stuff that I don't know to be true or things that I don't fully believe in, I never share. And that's just like a personal thing that I've done. I don't believe that other people should not do it. If you want to share a video or something to create awareness about an issue, do it. I'm just saying, from my perspective, it's not something I ever politically took place in.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
like I'm like you just said there. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying the
yeah,
reason I personally don't do it. I don't like other people like trying to force people to share their views in these things because we, as much as we might like to think we know the full story, you don't always know the full story in these things. And like
exactly.
on that as well, like I said, like I'm not trying to condone anything that anybody is doing bad in the world. I'm not trying to be like, oh, like let's not talk about Israel and Palestine. I'm not saying let's not talk about Trump. Have these conversations. Like I'm just saying, and I'm pretty sure Imran is in it, like 100% with me in this as well. Like we just don't share and talk about these things on a
Exactly.
platform like that, just because we don't have 100% of the information at our fingertips, like other people might do, or we wouldn't be as confident with that, like with what we're saying at
I always
times.
think as well when with political terms as well, it can be the start of a conversation that can be sensitive for people, and you don't know why people's perspective changes of you in different scenarios. Like you see it in workplaces, you see it, at home, or you see it like when you're talking to your friends. Like everybody has a different mindset towards things. So I think it's always good to be like sensitive or aware of other people when they're dealing with situations like this.
Mm.
This is kind of probably the wrong time to bring this in after we just spoke about that. But I am very much on the basis that this isn't a woke nonsense, but I think separating art from artists is very important. And I can give you prime examples. I mean, we will get into it later. Kanye is an example like that. We'll be speaking a bit later in the podcast. Another person would probably, like Shaun kind of said there, would be Michael Jackson. Another thing I would say is like there's a lot of artists that paint, like a lot of painters that had very difficult lives in terms of like how they were brought up and what they've kind of perceived to be. And I do think this is where art stands as a form. If you use this theory of like that art is a singular thing to a person, then no artist will ever be viewed at that part. Yes, you can be a good person, but I definitely think once art is out in the world, people's perspective of something changes over time, and I don't think it should be dwelled onto one particular bad person. Does that before I get cancelled? Does that mean that I think that if you're a shitty person that you should get reckonable off this? No. If they should get wealth off this? No. But I think if once art is given out into the world, it doesn't belong to you anymore. And like a lot of artists speak about this. Like once Shaun releases a song, the song is still Shaun's song, but it's released to every other listener who views his music. And it's the same with painting, with football, with any expression of art. So that's my point of view. That I think people that don't think like that is other woke novels.
Yeah,
That's my personal.
I totally agree with you. 100%. I think you
Yeah,
got to separate the art from the artist because,
yeah,
like I couldn't have said it better myself there. Like with when I release a song, that song is now the world song. Not that everyone in the
yeah.
world is listening to my songs in particular. Like but I then consider like in the process of making these songs, they're very personal and they're mine. But once they're out there, I'm like, yeah, okay, I wrote the song, but whatever you get from this song is now yours and no longer mine. Like, it's not my right to tell you this is how you should or shouldn't feel from a song, even if it is mine, because it's now a piece of art in the world for you to consume, and you can get out of it what you want. Where that's good, where
Exactly.
that's bad. So yeah, totally agree with you on that.
That's why I think expression is so important with art. I think that's like the main thing I get from any type of like music or say art painting, or if I'm watching football, it's like everything is expression. And like it's funny, like, because like when I think of like we won't talk too much about football, but when I think of like artists that played in a football pitch, I always go back to like the maestros that were in the middle. So you've got like Iniesta, Xavi, like these were players me and Shaun would have grown up watching. And it was like when they were playing football, it's like they're not even playing football, they're going into a different flow state. So that's like the
Mm.
primary, a good example for me to say that like I don't know anything about the person life. I don't know who they were as part of, but what I see and I take from it is like a good perspective of seeing some. I won't get too into a bunch because I know Shaun plays a couple more, so I'll let him bring in some. Do you have any more?
Yeah, people who characterize being late as a quirky personality.
Okay. So someone said this to you that this is their personality trait?
It's so no. I've just come across people in life that like are very nonchalant about being late, and I just think it's fucking rude. If I am like a minute late to something, I am fucking mortified. Like I'm apologizing profusely. I'm like, I'm so sorry for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's because it's your own fault, because it's because of mismanagement. Sometimes because it's traffic. Sometimes
Yeah.
because of other people.
Cool.
Shit happens. Like everyone's going to be late at points in their life, and sometimes it'll be your fault. Sometimes it won't be your fault, and that's fine. But like people who are like routinely late, who just don't address it and don't do anything about it, wreck my head. And I think like accepting those people are being like, oh, it's just like them as a person. It's like, no, it's just rude. It just is like fully rude to other people. It's disrespectful to other people's time.
I think if you like, I think with bad time management, it's always something you can change. I think it's something like you can change in yourself. It's not like something that's out of your control. Like, for example, like you said there, like if you're in the car and the traffic, or you wake up late randomly, and things like that that happen like naturally in a day-to-day life. I think that's a good way to think. But I think if you're making it your personality, I think that's a really poor like mental health trait that you've like
Yeah.
developed onto yourself. Like I'm always late, that kind of thing. Like I always find myself, like me and Nicola are always running for the bus, even though we live like 2, 3 minutes away from it. But that's my own fault. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm not giving myself enough time to go and do it, so I can't blame anyone else. If I missed the bus here, it'd be purely my fault because the bus is always on time. That's like probably
Yeah.
the good thing about living in Ireland is like at least the bus is always late here. Every time you get there, you maybe might make
Yeah,
it.
it's very.
um,
I'm one of those people that really abide by like early is on time and on time is late. I'm always like the
y-
person that like I try and be at something like 5-10 minutes before. Always. Am I always successful in that? No. Like I said, like shit happens. Like but that's how I try to operate.
have you got any more? I actually have no more written down at the moment. I'm trying to think of something off the top of my
Okay,
noggin.
the other one that I have, this people might really fucking disagree with me, and people might think I'm an awful asshole for saying this, and I'm willing to say this with my chest out
Love
and
that.
take any criticism that come my way. And you might disagree with me on this as well. I don't think you're going to disagree too heavily with me on this, right? But
Okay.
it's the fact that I'm going to say it. So
Right.
this, like I said, people this could really rub people the wrong way. But let me explain what I
Clip
mean
it.
fully.
Clip it.
Right? Let me explain what I mean fully by this point. So
Okay.
people who post about people dying on social media for clout, right?
Yes.
So what I mean by this in full context, right? If someone close to you has passed and you want to put something up, um, just to like kind of announce, like I know when my mom died, I didn't like put up a post being like "Rip mom," blah blah, blah, but I put something up to be like, hey, anybody who wants funeral information, go here, right? I'm not talking about that sort of thing, or like if someone like it's been a known thing, someone in your life has been battling, a disease of some sort, and you put up to be like just letting people know, because it's easier than ringing around and letting every friend from college or letting everybody in your life know. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is like 6-7 years down the line, making posts that are very clearly just trying to get clout from people, like who are like, it's very much like, oh, I missed, like it's like they're writing a letter to the person on who died on social media. It's like, man, like this person is dead. They don't have social media. They probably like, especially when it's like someone who's a bit older and they never had social media, or someone just that just didn't have it, like, and it's clearly just being done for attention. And I'm not trying to say, oh, you can't grieve in your way, and you might want some affection from other people as part of your grieving process. I'm not judging that, but I think like using someone's death for clout on social media is just fucking disgusting.
I completely agree with you. I mean, it's something that me and the lads have actually spoken about a lot. Um, I often see it as well, like people do it with animals and things like this. Again, like you said, if it's something that you reminisce on and it's something that you post about and you feel like it's important for other people to get an understanding of it, I suppose that's okay. But I feel like if you're pushing it purely for the clout reason, it's like if you're trying to think, okay, I'm going to get benefit from this by posting it and get more followings or more, influences attract to me, I think that's just a negative way of looking at it. And it just shows like our generation is like so afraid to actually open and talk about things like this with the person when they're alive. I think like more enough, like most people now won't say things to their friend that they probably want to say to them. And that's why when people get drunk and they let their they get a bit loose, that's when they start opening up to their friends, and like that's when like the deep meaningful conversations come out, because people are like, oh, I have this wall down now, I can express myself to this person.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad, because I wish as like a society we are all a bit more open to it. Because like again, like I'm not saying like that I'm the same. Like there's obviously conversations and stuff that I probably still never had with other people that I'd like to have, and open myself up a little bit to them. But that's maybe because maybe trust issues comes into the place then, But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's been, more pushed over the past while. Like I still see it, but I kind of agree with you. If you're sharing RAPs, is probably a better way to go about it, because it's easier the way our life is now with
Yeah.
social media. Everyone uses it, so it's a better way of sharing it around. Like, can you imagine years ago, like before social media came around, and someone passed, you have to ring up like almost 90 or 100 people just to let them know, or can you let this person know? It's very difficult compared to now.
Yeah,
It's
of
We're a
course.
lot more accessible with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more the, like I said, like it's the kind of searching for clout element, and like people like writing as if they're writing a letter to the dead person on social media, and just to kind of like force some form of engagement in a way, like when obviously like the person's not gonna fucking see it. And if you believe in God and that sort of stuff and you want to pray to them, that's your own prerogative, like but like putting something on social media like that, like I said, like, I mean this in a, I don't mean like because I imagine when Xena dies, like I'll put something up just to let people know the dog has died, like outside, like obviously you'll ring the immediate family, like but like just so like people are kind of aware, like but then like I wouldn't like 6 months down the line be like putting up something like, Xena, we miss you every day, we miss your paw marks, we miss the smell of your fucking shite, like like
No, it's so true though. It is
like
so true.
because
And
like
like,
sometimes I look at these things and I'm like, look, it's very sad that you've lost this person. I'm not trying to like shit on your grief, and I'm not trying to shit on your process, but like you're very clearly doing this just to get a few likes, and I just feel like that's a very sad way to want to get the affection. Like go out and
mm,
speak to your friends, go out for a coffee, go for a walk, like get a dog, get two dogs, just like that sort of thing. Like, and I realize some people might really disagree with me and think I'm an asshole for that. But like I said, I'll say it with my chest out.
no, I agree with you though. I think it'll ruffle a few feathers, but I think it's a good way of looking at a situation that we see on social media all the time. Because I see it often. It's things that like I see maybe once a month, every 2 months, and like every time I see it, I'm just trying to think in different perspective. Is like they can't talk back to you. Like the person is not there anymore.
Exactly.
That's where AI will become very scary in the future, if that's being able to, you know, allow you to talk to the other side. But we won't go dwell too much onto that. I actually have no more written down. I'm trying to think of, oh, I have one that I've a big pet peeve with, and it's not that big of a deal, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Bringing the prices of Freddo. I think, like, I'm sick of this.
That's
Like,
woke nonsense. I agree.
that's utter woke nonsense. Like, that is the definition of utter woke nonsense. Like, keep Freddos. I remember growing up, Freddos were like that cheap bar that, you were able to grab a few change out of your couch, or you're able to, ask your mom for a bit of money, and she'd give you like the 50 cent, 20 cent, whatever she had in her wallet, so you can go to the shop with the lads. And you'd be able to get the orange fizzy lollipops, a Freddo bar, and maybe a 50 cent or €1 bag of jellies from Central. That was like my go-to three pack for
Yeah.
like the whole time growing up, for about 4 or 5 years, from like 8 to like 12. Like I remember that was like the consistent, like boom, boom, boom. That's what you're getting
Yeah.
every time.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree
Totally
with you.
agree.
I used to
And
get
I
for £2. So there was within walking distance from my house. You wouldn't remember my old house. There was
yeah,
a walking distance. There was an Aldi and there was a Spar. Right. So €2 in Aldi feast. Right. So I would go to Aldi, get like a packet of cookies for like 40 cents. I'd get like another like random like biscuit of some sorts or chocolate bar. I'd probably get like maybe three things for like 140, 150, and then I'd walk over to Spar and get a can of American Cola for 50 cent, and I'd have a feast for £2. You wouldn't get that nowadays.
no, you wouldn't get that nowadays. And I actually think like the the munch deals now are like getting more expensive. Like I miss the idea because when I think of like when I used to talk about this, like what's your like fiver a munch deal? It would be like your soft drink, your packet of crisps, your like your roll or your sandwich, and like a chocolate bar. That's like the adult like 4 pack, 5 pack. And it's like now as like we move on and it's way things like everything is getting more expensive. It's like now your 5 pack is nearly costing you 15 quid, nearly 20 quid for a 5 pack. Or back in the day, you'd be able to get it for 7, 8 quid, you know?
Mm.
So utter woke nonsense. Yes.
Or woke
Have you got any
nonsense.
more?
No, I haven't, and I think that's I didn't chat to you about this before, but there's something that has come to mind for current affairs. So I'm
Okay,
gonna move into current affairs, but kind of keeping on top of something we were just talking about there, being
cool.
sweets and stuff. So obviously
Yeah.
it was Easter there last week, and we talked a little bit about Easter. But I was seeing so much in the news about Cadbury's and people complaining that they added palm oil into the chocolate. Right? Have you seen
Okay.
anything on this?
No, I've seen nothing about this.
They basically changed the ingredient, like one of the ingredients that goes into it, and palm oil is now in Cadbury's. Right? This is one, current affairs, and two, woke nonsense. In my opinion, it's hitting both marks. It's a perfect segue for us. So they've changed the ingredients. I personally had an Easter egg on Easter Sunday, and I could not taste a bit of difference. I like, and there's so many things being like, oh my god, they're after adding palm oil to this. It's so bad for your health. Blah blah blah. Man, like you're eating an Easter egg. This you're
You're
not.
eating
It's
the
not like
chocolate like it's not like
like it's not. You're not eating this for the health benefits. Like it tasted the exact same. For me, it was just like what is all on about. And there's loads of people like protesting Cadbury, and they're like not. They're like refusing to buy Cadbury's chocolate. It tastes the exact same. It's tasted the same. Look, is it probably the exact same from when we were kids? No, there's probably some differences. Like any product over time, bananas are a prime example. Bananas now taste so different to bananas like 30, 40 years ago. Not that I'm
of
old enough
course.
to verify that myself, but it's a scientific thing that bananas have massively changed in taste over the last 30 to 40 years.
Yeah.
It's just a similar thing. Like, everyone's like, oh, like the thing is, right, too much of any one ingredient is bad for you. And there's a lot of talk with this with like diet drinks as well, about how you shouldn't drink Diet Coke and Coke Zero and all these sort of things, or like Monster that has zero sugar and stuff because of the sweeteners. 9 times out of 10, it takes about like 20. I think with Coke Zero in particular, I think you would have to drink 20 Coke Zeros a day for 3 weeks in a row for like 1% of the aspartame in it to have any sort of effect on you. And even at that, there wouldn't even be much of an effect. And I think it would spike your insulin or something like that. Now, don't quote me on the effect of it there, but I know that you have to drink like monumental amounts of this stuff for it to have an effect, and they wouldn't.
Sean's gonna do a test now, drinking 20 cans of
There we go.
Coke Zero next
I've got
week.
a 24 pack in the shopping this week, so we're
We'll get
full.
through him. He'll give us a review at the end of the week.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really, for me, it's woke nonsense. It's like, lads, just fucking eat the chocolate bar and enjoy it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Don't eat it. Go to Nestle, go to Galaxy, go to Mars, do whatever you want.
You and your Easter eggs of vendetta will never end.
Yeah,
It's like this thing though. It's like this thing with like if you're going to eat from the perspective of health, you already know anything from the ground, anything from an animal is probably the healthiest way you're going to go about things. We already know this. To avoid processed foods is the best way. I mean, like we said before, if we had the money or if I had the time to work around and not buy processed foods, I'd do that, no problem. But again, I enjoy these foods. So, and I already, I don't know if people notice this in the podcast, we're all going to die. So eventually enjoy yourself. Have your little 20 Coke Zeros, have your little palm oil chocolate bar. I'm not going to give out to you for it. So, you know what I
yeah.
mean?
And I saw
Exactly.
something from a nutritionist the other day. I can't remember her name on TikTok, but I follow her and she's really good. Now, again, I don't know how accurate this is, right? But she's a good source. I've watched her videos and I tend to agree with a lot of stuff she says. I think it's like Jordan GQ. She's some nutritionist who does TikTok recipe videos, and she's all about
Yeah.
increasing protein and fiber in your diet. She's fairly good. Really recommend checking her out. Do I know her name to recommend it right now? No, I don't. Anyway, um, but she was talking about this in the sense of, I think Marks and Spencers have brought in like a range of like traditionally processed foods where the packaging is just the ingredients and it's meant to be like really minimal, because it's quite a big trend like in design nowadays, like that people want like a minimal thing, so they're trying to put that on the packaging. But
Yeah.
she actually made the point that, like, yes, should you go for whole foods? Should you go for the things that we just spoke about there? Yeah, absolutely. But in these ultra processed foods, they've actually gotten to a point where they are having health benefits because they will add in extra vitamins that we are deficient in, and they
Missing
will
out on.
help you. Yeah, and they will help you. It'll just help you in day to day life. Now, again, whole foods is always going to be the best thing for you. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, yeah, you should just go and eat processed foods. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying
Five oven pizzas.
what I'm saying is they have their place in your diet, and it's all about balance in your diet.
Of
It's about
course.
having a healthy mix of what you like, what you should be having, processed foods and whole foods,
The bad with the good.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, we should probably move into the actual current affairs stuff that we had, because or else this podcast is going to be like 2 hours long.
True. Usual. Usual.
Um, yeah, so one of the things I had down for current affairs this week is there is massive protests going on in Dublin at the moment over the price of fuel. I have a couple of points here. So there's ongoing protests in Dublin focused on the rising fuel costs and just general cost of living. Protesters are arguing that everyday workers are being squeezed, especially those who rely on cars for work. Obviously, you've got massive trucks that are transporting things, that are delivering your deliveries, that are delivering stuff to small business owners as well, driving up the price of the fuel to get to the shop, which is then driving up the price on consumers then as well. What a lot of them are doing at the moment is they're literally just parking their trucks on the quays and on Collins Street, and this is causing massive disruptions. I even like Simone's having this problem, like trying to get from Ballyfermot to Blackrock. Like I think it took her like 2.5 hours to get to work this morning when it normally takes her like an hour and a half. So it's
Yeah.
an extra hour, and like she's having buses drive by her because all the buses are just packed because you can't drive because they're all the laneways are being blocked off.
Of course. I mean, like, I understand people's frustration, and I think people, should willingly feel that they need to protest in certain manners. But like when I saw this the other day, I'm just thinking there's about 20 to 40 cars behind there that are just working family men or women that need to get to work and just provide for their families. And that's where it frustrates me because they're not trying to do anything. And it's like, what can you do? You're not going to run over 40 people just to get to work. And it's really frustrating because a lot of the time they're not being paid on them times as well. So again, this is the problem where we don't blame the systems in place and the government policies in place. And that's where the real issue is. So that's why it really annoys me when I see stuff like this, because it's like, nothing can change in the matter of a protest unless the government take a stand. Again, do I think awareness is good? Do I think protesting is good? Yes. But I think the larger effect at fault there is that the government aren't stepping in and being like, okay, what can we do to get more fuel into the country? Should we spend a bit more money? Of course, it's a bit more expensive now due to the war and the situation that's going on in the Middle East, but what can you do at the end of the day?
Yeah, and I do look. I've been massively critical of the Irish government personally, and on this podcast many times.
Of course.
I do think their hands are slightly tied when it comes to the fuel stuff in particular, because and I
Mm-hmm.
think Micheál Martin may have said this as well, and it's not, I don't often agree with Micheál Martin, but this is something that's more linked to the global energy market, and it's not something that they can control themselves in the government locally that
True.
much. Obviously they can take away the carbon tax, they can do little things, but the bulk of this issue is coming from, as you said, the stuff in the Middle East at the moment. But and I also understand the point that, like, some people will make where, like, oh no, it's like, it's the broader cost of living as well that is involved in this, and I totally accept that point. But that's why I also think that it's a very, I understand and I completely, like, support everyone's right to protest, like, but I just think the way they're doing it is so disruptive. And like I was having this conversation with Simone last night, and like, it could prove to be effective because it is so disruptive, like, but you know, this I'm going to quote Micheál Martin on this because it is true. As much as I don't like Micheál Martin, as much as I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he says, this I do agree with him. Like, there's businesses on O'Connell Street that are being blocked off, and there's people whose
Yeah.
family aren't going to get fed next month or over the coming weeks because they've not got footfall in their shops, and shops are going to close and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
people are going to lose their jobs over it'll have a knock-on effect in that way. And I understand, they're trying to cause a big ruckus, people who are protesting, and I get that, but I just think the way they've gone about it is just probably a little bit too much
Yeah.
from my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's where the problems for me stems with things like this in these scenarios. And again, I reiterate my point about not just the Irish government, but governments in general. Is like it always stems like systems in place are the biggest issue, and policies that in the long run, the people are affected more because of what's at place. And I think that's for me is my biggest issue with it. But hopefully now things will change over the coming weeks. But we are in for interesting times, people, interesting times.
Yeah.
I will move on to our next point because I know we are conscious of time. We have a few more things to bring up as well. As I mentioned before, on one of my points about separating the art from the artist, it was kind of interesting this week. Big festival in the UK known as Wireless Festival had booked Kanye, also known as Ye, for 3 weeks, and there was a backlash immediately because of his long run of anti-Semitic, pro-Nazi statements and stints on the online. After that, a lot of major sponsorships reportedly started dropping out. Pepsi, for example, was a big one. Who was the main sponsor for the festival. Politicians publicly criticized the booking, and the pressure built very fast on the festival and the UK government. I just have a couple of points here that I'm written down in front of me. Why are people are talking about it was probably the biggest one about it is it's kind of the separation of why the artists just didn't drop out. It's become a wider argument, and the initial thing as well in terms of like the organizer initially defended the decision as Ye came out and with the idea of forgiveness and second chances against the Jewish community, but the line got absolutely steamrolled by sponsors and politicians piled in on it. And again, before I start with this point and my opinion on it, do I believe that that the art should be separate, or should the artist be should the art be separated from the artist? Yes, but in terms of this situation, do I feel that the government was a correct way to go around it? Not necessarily, because my problem is they've had people on the shows before, like Chris Brown, for example, has played at the show. They've had other people in line at their concerts, like DBE, for example, that push narratives that I've also think. But do I believe that Kanye should be speaking, anti-Semitic and pro-festival things? No, not at all. So there's two ways of looking at it. I think the biggest thing I took from the whole situation was there's bigger stuff at play in the government. And if they're looking at a festival as the main injustice system right now, that's where this country's rights are really at right now. Of course, with the UK government being so highly involved in like political warfare terms as well. So that was what I took from it. Again, with stuff like this, where you're making derogative terms as you have like a platform, I always think it's a difficult way of looking at things. But like, for example, like I be a person, I genuinely like Kanye's music. I think he's a terrific artist, but do I really agree that he's a good person? No. Do I follow some things that he says and stems with? No. Does that make me naivety to some of the things that bigger play here? Maybe. But I am definitely a person that judges things on expression and viewpoint rather from the stem down of what the person does. So again, look at this with a pinch of salt and take the viewpoint of what the government are pushing, and then also how Pepsi and other organizations pulled out of it. I don't know what you stemmed or what your information about it is. Do you have anything like ideas?
Yeah, I don't know an awful lot about the situation in general. Like, I know sponsors pulled out. I know that Kanye's visa, I think, was denied as well for entry to the
Yeah,
UK.
that
That
was
sort of
after
stuff.
the event had been cancelled. Yeah, yeah.
So I think the root of the problem here, and I totally agree with you in the sense of like I don't agree with a lot of what Kanye has to say, and I don't think Kanye
No,
is a particularly good person.
no.
However, as much as we may not like what he says, he is entitled to his right of free speech, and he's entitled to think what he wants. If he wants to be an idiot and he wants to be an asshole, that is his prerogative to do so. I think there needs to be more focus put on the people who booked him. Knowing
Mm,
he is this figure, knowing he is this, he's going to bring a certain crowd or a certain type, and the risks that carry. Like, if you book somebody like that, how will that affect your sponsors? Because
mm.
they're not going to want to be associated. So, I actually think more of the blame in this situation needs to go to whoever's idea it was to book him, and maybe it was a calculated risk and they took a gamble and it's just not paid off at all.
Played off.
End of the day, Kanye is a huge artist. Like, he could tour the world, and like there's obviously reasons that he doesn't do that anymore. There's reasons he's not doing stadium tours or
Mm.
arena tours, like because it's probably not safe for him to do so. If I'm being honest, like so he can only
Yeah.
do some of these bigger appearances.
Um,
But yeah, that's where I would kind of direct my criticism more. Again, like like just in the context of this situation. Again, I totally agree with you in what you're saying in terms of like the politics and like what Kanye stands for and all that sort of stuff. But in this instance of like the controversy around the festival and stuff, I think it's more the onus needs to be put on the people who actually booked him.
exactly. And before we move on, I just want to say that the guy who booked the festival, the guy who's wireless, is actually Jewish himself. And this is where he kind of brought the point up, which I thought was really interesting, was the standpoint of how we view bipolar and mental health diseases in like the limelight. I mean, it's very common knowledge, but it's come out that Kanye West has been bipolar for a long time and has had many, many mental health issues over recent years. Does that like I said before, do I agree with some of the stuff he says? Absolutely not. But I'm trying to say is like what kind of Shaun reiterated his point there, the idea of free speech that we are all available to. It just seems that when you're in a bigger limelight and you say something, it can be completely taken out of context, or it can be completely pushed as a narrative by social media and by government issues. But what I found from it is it's like how the context of this now is, if you're an artist and you have an issue in your past, or you have an issue in your limelight when you're being booked for festivals, is that now going to be taken or risen from other government policies, like the UK stepped in with not allowing with his entering into the country? Like, is that going to be seen now that we're going to see with artists coming into the future? Again, and it is a sensitive subject, and I do want to say, like, I don't agree with any of the anti-Semitic and pro-Nazi statements that he was making, but I'm trying to say from a viewpoint of like mental health being involved in their music industry, is that something that's going to be seen in the future? It's a thought that I had that I thought would be interesting to bring forward onto the podcast. Anyway, we won't dwell too much on it, so I'll let Shaun bring in the next point.
Cool. And just another thing is, it's going to be a busy month for the cinemas. For my bank accounts, anyway. Me and Imran have both watched the Super Mario film that came out recently, and there's also like 3 other films as well that I'm really interested in going to see this month. I haven't been to the cinema since September, which I'm ashamed to say, because I think every month last year I went to the cinema up until September, and then nothing really was bringing me back in. But before we talk about any of the other films, what did you think of the Super Mario film?
Loved it. Loved it. Um, from anyone that hasn't seen the first one or the second one, it's just an overload of cuteness, and that's probably the best way to explain it. And I think the introduction of bringing Yoshi in was just great. Me and Shaun were talking about before we started the podcast. I'm a huge Yoshi fan. I play Mario Kart. He's the only character I pick, and even when I play Super Mario, I was always the character I chose. So I have a big love for Yoshi. But yeah, really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really funny. Again, it's just, I like these movies because they're simple plot lines. There's not too much to dwell into it. It's just a kids' movie. It's animation. It's funny, lightheartedness. And that's like my favorite thing about going into watching these movies, is you don't have to like think too much. It's just plain as light. And I think that's the good thing with like cinema. You don't always need this huge plot line, and different. It again depends on like how the movie is perceived. But like, I don't think you always need an overload when you're watching a film. So I really enjoyed it. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It's same as the first one. I think any of the criticisms I have are very like minimal, and it's like, man, it's a kids film. Like, just enjoy it. I love the
The cast is
animation.
always stacked though, isn't it? That's the one thing I always say. I'm always surprised by the cast. Like, they must be
Yeah,
paying them paying.
yeah. Do you know what? The Toad character that was in it when Peach went off on that little side quest that she was on.
Yeah, yeah.
And the voice actor for that, like, he came up, and I was like, I know this voice. Who the fuck is this? And it was taking me ages, and I eventually figured it out. After it's more the same thing. It was Luis Guzman, who's in Low. Do you know? You definitely know who he is based on his face. He's like,
One
he's like
second.
he's the other Mexican guy who's in everything. That's not Danny. That's not Danny Trejo.
That's
And
a. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh wait, okay. Yeah, they give me a
He's in.
completely different person there. Okay, I spelled his name completely wrong. I got some American pharmacist. I know who he is now. I can see him now on my screen. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an actor, and I knew his voice as well. And for some, at first I was like, "Is that Craig Robinson, the Pontiac Bandit?" But like then I was like, "No, it's not. It's a bit more Mexican." And yeah, it took me a
Ah,
while.
yeah.
I was in the cinema, and I was like, "What the hell?"
He
But
plays
yeah,
Wednesday's dad in the series. That's probably the best way for people to recognize him.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
but
in
yeah,
Narcos
very
as well.
good.
He's
Yeah,
in loads of
he's in
shit.
loads
Like,
of things. Yeah, yeah.
but
And
yeah,
what else movies have you got on the list?
so other films I want to see this month is the drama with
Yeah,
Zendaya and
of
Robert
course.
Pattinson. Really interested to see that. Project Hail Mary has come onto my radar as well
Yeah,
recently.
which is funny.
Did you see it?
People are saying it's like no, but people are saying it's like the best sci-fi movie come out in the last 10 years. I'm like, there's no way this is better than Interstellar.
What has me interested is the same guys who directed the Lego movies,
Yeah,
and
it'd be interesting to see how they go.
they were producers on the Spider Verse films as well. So yeah, I'm expecting it to be funny.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm, I'm
yeah,
interested to see because the whole storyline is projected about like a moving rock. So that just intrigues me. It's like this is such a left pocket, comedy like sci-fi movie. So I think it'll
yeah,
be interesting to see how it goes.
and
I'd be
then
interested to see letterbox reviews.
yeah, my final one for this month, and this is somebody we've already kind of touched on once or twice in this episode already, is the Michael Jackson movie.
Yes, yes. I've seen some things actually convert controversy about this where the Hollywood had stepped in to change the ending and some scenes in the film. I think the Michael movie and the people working on the film wanted to look at, the controversies of the child allegations that had played out in Michael's career near the end of his life.
Mm,
But I think Hollywood ended up stepping in to take out that portraying. They didn't want to bring that up. So I think it leads up to that situation, but doesn't actually portray it. And his daughter has actually came out and spoke about that she'll not be watching the movie because she doesn't agree with the way Hollywood has stepped in if they don't want to tell the whole story. Again,
yeah,
another separate the art from the artist thing and the controversy about, allegations with certain situations around children. I'm not going to speak on that because I don't want to get myself in bother. But yes, it'd be interesting to see how that does come out.
my understanding of it is this film was due to come out I think in January last year, and
Yeah,
the whole third act of the movie had to be reshot because of things that you were talking about there. And
yeah.
apparently, the first cut of the film was 4 hours long. You know,
Damn,
which like, come here, if you're gonna tell the full story of Michael Jackson, I can definitely
do it. Yeah.
understand why you're gonna go, and I can justify that length. You'd be very glad for your intermissions over in Switzerland, watching that one in the cinema. I tell you that. But I think the main thing is that you're right in the sense that they were like, oh no, we don't want to do that. But I think because they filmed a lot of it, and then they filmed more, and if the film does well, it's going to be released as a sequel, and the sequel is just going to be a lot of the controversy in his later life.
Hmm.
That's my understanding, and like it's already like I think it's projected right now to be one of the biggest opening weekends of all time in cinema history. Like, because it's going to be huge because obviously Michael Jackson was the biggest pop star of all time when he was alive.
Yeah,
So there's going to be
completely.
a lot of interest in this movie. It's probably the one that I'm maybe like least excited for out of my list, but like I'm still interested. It's not one I'll probably go and see opening weekend. I'll probably wait a week or two, see how reviews are, and then I'll go in when it's died down with traffic going into the cinema.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how the reviews come in after because, like you said there, the movie was cut down. So often when movies are cut down into the optional of a second movie or a sequel, I often find that they maybe aren't able to hit the first movie as good as they thought they could be because they had to take out so much. Because I
Mm,
feel like that's like a big thing when it comes to like art and like film is like when you have to like minimize something, it doesn't often get its best form, if that makes sense. So I'm
yeah.
be interesting to see the reviews that coming in. But yeah, loads of great week and great month for film and TV.
Yeah, literally film and TV, like it's popping off. Like obviously this week as well, we had the boys come back. Invincible and Daredevil have been premiering. There's a Star Wars movie coming out as well.
Correct.
There's loads, and I think there's another show as well that I don't watch. That Euphoria is back this week as well.
Euphoria is back this
Malcolm
week.
in the Middle is back this week.
Yeah, that was a
I'm
wild
so
follow.
excited for as well.
Yeah, you're a big Malcolm in the Middle fan. I
Yeah,
remember that
I
when you were
really
working in
like that one.
Harvey.
Yeah, I
I
really
saw the
like that one.
trailer for that and I thought of you this week actually.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Um,
Sirski.
yeah. Anyway, look, that's probably enough of current affairs. We need to move on for time. So we're going to go into your dilemmas, guys. This is the part of the show where you guys send us your dilemmas and we read them out anonymously and we, answer any questions that you have or we give you advice if you want advice. These are all completely anonymous. We cannot see who has sent these in. If you would like to send in your dilemma, please go to the link in our Instagram bio. You'll see a form there on Google and you can fill in the form. Like I said there, it's all totally anonymous. So if you want to if there's something wrong in your relationship and you want to get it off your chest, you can send it to us. If you think the podcast is shit and you want to get it off your chest and you want to call us assholes, go ahead, do that as well. If your boss is being an asshole, you want to get it off your chest, but you want to do it anonymously, please send it into that form. So like I said, it's in the link in our Instagram bio. It's the Your Dilemmas form. This week, we have a dilemma from somebody which says, I have a friend who always forgets their wallet. Coffee, I pay. Taxi, I pay. Dinner, I'll send it to you later. They do eventually pay sometimes, but only if I remind them multiple times. Now I'm starting to feel used, but bringing it up feels awkward over small amounts.
Yeah.
What do you think about this, Imran?
I mean, it's something I've experienced probably about 3 occasions with 3 different people. And the best thing to do, in my opinion, is just have one sit down conversation about it. It doesn't have to be a big thing. I feel like after a while, it can be annoying if someone is consistently paying for something. And it's something that I've felt as well, that even like if you're constantly paying for taxis or if you're constantly parking, it can be really annoying, especially when you're like living at home or you're like in college and stuff like that. When you don't have a lot of money, that's where the larger effect can have. But for me, I think the best thing away about it is just to sit down and have a conversation with them over a drink or on a walk. And it doesn't have to be a serious big talk. It just be like, look, this is something that's bothering me and I noticed over a while. I'll give you an example. Like I had a situation like this with one of my friends, and eventually then this person ended up handing me a €50 note and being like, look, just take this, being like, it just is for all the times. And I didn't want to take it. It was really because the purpose for me, it was like, I didn't want to take the money, but he was like adamant about like, take the money. And that was like to cover all the times. And ever since then, I've never had an issue with that friend with money. It's always been, I'll get it this time, I'll get it next time, brother, or, we go halves on things. So I often find like a conversation with that person will stem down and maybe they might change their perspective and aspect about it. And that's something I've felt was the best way to go about it. Again, it's all about how you communicate it. For me, I feel like this is best communicated in person because you can just say like, look, this is bothering me. And again, if they're your friend, and like me and Shaun have spoken about this before, if you're a friend, they'll take on board your point of view. If they're not your friend, they'll just completely push it over the head, because if it's something that's bothering you, it should bother them. That's always the thing. I have a perspective with a friend. So yeah, I would say best way to communicate it, just have one sit down conversation, out on a walk, out having a drink, whatever, watching a movie. That's probably the best way to bring. Well, maybe not watching a movie just because you've got like 90 minutes to go, and if it doesn't go well, it's a bit awkward. So yeah, that's my advice on this situation.
Yeah, I think this is like one of those rare situations where the longer you're friends with someone, the more awkward this is. Like if your friend, if like this is like a really close friend that you're friends with like 5+ years,
Yeah,
and it becomes a problem, like then I think it's actually more awkward than like if it's somebody who like say you meet through work or through college or something like that, and you're friends with them maybe like a year or two. I think it's less awkward with them. Whereas
true.
like if it's a longer friendship, it increases the like the maybe the tension or the awkwardness in bringing this up. Um, I mean, like, yeah, like you said there, it's all about kind of how you communicate. I do think, like, if it's something that's like really bothering you, it's something that you should like probably be a bit more cutthroat about when it comes to like if they're not taking it on board, like just being like, okay, well, I'm not paying you for this. Like, even if it is little things, and like, come here, look, it's not even a thing about being cheap. Like, I do it with my friends all the time. Like, if we're going to a shop and I'm buying a few things, it's like, yeah, just throw it on my basket. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah,
even
of
if it's
course.
10 euro here and there, like, whatever. But it's also a give and take situation as well. You don't always expect it's something to be given to you, but you also try and do it back. Like you said there, like the thing of like buying rounds, or like you get dinner this time, I'll get dinner next time, that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. You know, yeah, it's just like it's one of those things that it's like it can be quite like sensitive. But I think if it's really bothering you that much and they're not taking it on board, you have to be quite cutthroat and be like, right, okay, I'm buying myself coffee. I'm not buying you one because you've got a track record of not paying me back, and if it's
yeah,
becoming a constant problem, if you feel maybe like it's a bit too awkward to talk about, like that's another way around it of being like, oh, like no, I'm gonna do it my way, or even like if you're going for dinner, like split the bill, be like, I'm paying with my card, you're paying with your card, and that's that. Like instead of being like, oh yeah, you can just Revolut me or whatever, like whereas like that's what I know when we go out for food, like one of us will just pay and we can just
yeah,
Revolut each other, like that's how we typically do it. It's
yeah.
different for everyone. I don't think there's like a perfect answer for this as well, but I think that gives two pretty decent perspectives on
I think it is
how
a
you feel.
common factor though that a lot of people experience that like it's something that I think over time 90% of the time anyone I've spoken to has dealt with this situation. I think it's very like a normal problem that can arise in a friendship. But I think
Mm.
you're correct in saying like time with friendships probably play a major part. Like you were saying there, like with the whole 1 to 2 year thing, I think it's maybe easier to bring it up. But I feel like when you're friends with someone like for us, for example, who are nearly, I'd say about 8 or 10 years altogether,
Mm.
that can be a bit more like challenging about how you speak to that person. But like we said, like me and you are very like we'll go down the middle, or say I'm in the shop, I was like, do you want a drink? I'll pick up a drink and stuff like that. So
Mm.
I think it just depends really like on your friendship and like how things play out with people.
Yeah, and I remember I had an allegation like this kind of thrown at me before, and I kind of disagree with. I just think like offering perspective on this could be good as well. I had
Yeah.
someone kind of mention this to me before in a in a bit of like we were having a bit of a heated conversation, and they kind of tried to weaponize this with me being like, "Oh, I've bought you this, I've bought you that." I think like it depends on like whether you're offering to do these things as well. Like if you're constantly offering to buy dinner, if you're constantly offering to buy drinks, saying like I want to pay for this, I want to pay for this. I think that also was a big part of it because this is also from when I was like 16, 17. So I wasn't really like I was working, but I was working part time, so I didn't have a lot of spare money, and I had friends that were working full time that were like, oh no, like like they purposely were like, let's go out, I would like to buy, because I would say I don't have enough money to go out, and they're like, no, I want to buy this.
Yeah.
And I did accept a handful of times, but then they tried to weaponize that at a different point in the friendship. And I'm like, right, okay, no, hold on a minute. I purposely said to you, I don't have enough money, and you said you wanted to buy this. So like that at that point, then you can't really weaponize this. Whereas like it's different if you guys go, oh, let's go out for a coffee, and like it's constantly them. It's like let's say they invited you for coffee, and you are constantly paying, but it's not kind of like voluntary in that way. Like whereas like
Yeah.
in the situation I was in, the person was asking me to come out. I said I don't have enough money, but then they said they wanted to cover it. So I just think like that also offers a bit of perspective. I think definitely like you should still always try and pay your way. And like I definitely like once I started working full time with that friend, started going like no, I want to pay because you paid a lot more. And they weren't totally incorrect in what they were saying, but I think like you can't then weaponize that when you're having like heated conversations or whatever. Like
Yeah, it's always an interesting topic when scenarios like with money and friends comes out. I think it's always open to perspective and ideas. But yeah,
for sure, for
nice
sure.
for sure.
Right, guys, that is all we have time for today. Thank you very much for listening to episode number 60 of The Distance Dilemma. My name is Shaun. I'm in Dublin, Ireland. This has been Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland. And this has been our Long Distance Friendship podcast. We will be back again next week, as we are every single Monday, 6 a.m. Irish time, 7 a.m. Central European time. Until then, guys, thank you very much for listening to this episode of The Distance Dilemma. And we will chat to you again next week.